Morning and welcome to another Sunday morning sketch. My name is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and this morning I've just got a suggestion from my wife to try to draw Popeye. I have never drawn Popeye, and to be completely honest, it never occurred to me to draw Popeye, but he's an interesting challenge, so I'm going to try to draw Popeye. So yeah. Alright, so be a new page there. And move the camera. Move the coffee. I do this stuff at work quite a bit, where we do licensed stuff, and that includes classic characters and Disney stuff and blah blah blah. And a lot of people, I think, just sort of assume that simple characters are in fact easy to do. And if you're doing a quick sketch or something, yeah, I know you can BS a quick Mickey Mouse or something, and everybody goes, "It's Mickey Mouse," and then so therefore they think it's easy. But to actually really work on some of these classic characters is tough because they are so kind of abstracted, and we end up like having to sculpt models and such of them. So I'll tell you right now, I would rather do like a Michelangelo's David before I would want to do a Homer Simpson. Mainly because, you know, David can exist in real space, and Homer Simpson cannot. Not the way he looks on TV, anyways. Popeye falls under the exact same category of you can kind of think he would exist in reality, but no, he just can't. That's what I love about those old cartoons. They could really only properly exist in 2 dimensions. And I have a tendency of drawing kind of, not, I don't want to say I draw 3-dimensionally, but I do kind of try to structure my stuff out. So I'm going to see if I can get a Popeye that works. So the moment my wife said that, I was like, oh, actually, that is kind of a interesting challenge. And Popeye actually is a pretty cool character. I kind of wish that they would. And they were going to try to do a film a little ways back with Gendy, but it was unfortunately, apparently, Sony dropped it. It looked cute. It looked like it was going to be a bunch of fun. Yep. I actually really think that. I mean, I'm all for new stuff and all that, but I think we've got a lot of untapped stuff right now. To be.
Oh yeah, we do.
To be honest with you.
They just unfortunately keep remaking the same crap over and over because the same crap keeps selling. People don't want new stuff. They want the same people taste over and over.
I mean, and I get it. It's why Pokemon still keeps going. I mean, nothing wrong with it, but it's like after a while you're like, I kind of liked it when every 5, 10, 15 years a significant change occurred and there was like a whole new kind of generation, like in a whole new thing. Like, I thought it was awesome. You had like the Herculoids and Johnny Quest kids getting, replaced by the Scooby-Doo, Wacky Racers or whatever kids getting replaced by the Thundar the Barbarian G.I. Joe kids. I always thought that was kind of awesome. I didn't get it when I was younger. I just thought that was natural. But now that stuff's sort of sticking, I think, a little too long, we're kind of not getting that. I hate using the word enemizing, but like the system gets cleaned out and like fresh new stuff comes in, and it's just kind of a shame because it was awesome when anime came in. You know, I mean, it had been here for a really long time. I mean, you go back to, Speed Racer or whatever, and it had always been kind of here, but when it really came in like the late 80s, early 90s, it was like, yeah, something fresh and new. And now that we've got anime, it's like now they're kind of sticking to a lot of the same anime. It's like, dang it, come on, bring some new licenses in. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is cool and all that, but it's like, watch something else, Dang it, I mean, I like old cartoons. I like new cartoons. That's the point. Is I like it when a time period shifted over. I'm kind of going like, now that Popeye has been out for a while, I'm like, maybe we need to try bringing Popeye back in. See what happens with Popeye.
It's my problem with the Facebook page. It's not moving.
What's not moving?
A lot of things to keep going.
Well, Uncle Buzz just joined up, so it must be doing something.
For some reason, not popping up on mine.
Oh, it might be.
There we go.
Yeah, see, that's good.
See, hitting music.
Yeah, we're good. It's just your equipment messing up. Morning, Uncle Buzz. But yeah, I'm kind of looking at some of our classic characters right now, and I'm going like, I think some of them still work. I think Popeye might actually be a real good one to kind of, bring back. Actually, let me move that camera in a little bit there, now that I have an idea where he's at. But yeah, I just kind of, it's funny. I think we should kind of be wavering between some old stuff and new stuff, and try to keep, try to keep a nice balance between the two.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between having legacy properties that will go throughout time and people will recognize no matter what because they pass on from generation to generation. Mickey Mouse, Batman, Superman, and all those guys.
I mean, they're great and all that, but after a while, you're just like, I've seen you too much. Go away.
Well, that's the thing. Is like there's a difference between that and between forcing a property to basically exist. Once again, it's like when you have a legacy property like Superman and Batman, but yet you force it to exist by constantly rehashing the exact same thing over and over again. It ceases to become an interesting property. It just becomes once again just another boring iteration of what can we do with it now to keep our copyright.
Well, it's like when Ben 10 came out like 10-ish years ago. It was kind of new and kind of cool, and it was like a really solid idea for a boys' cartoon. And then they did the whole series, and then they did a later series where they aged the characters up a little bit, and it felt like it fit right in, and, totally worked. What's wrong?
It's still not going live.
All right, well, according to this, it is. Yeah, stop worrying about it, hon. Just relax.
That's what I'm saying. I can't see it.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. It's Sunday morning. Nobody should be stressing on Sunday morning. But yeah, then you get to a point where they started doing the newer versions of it, and it was kind of like they were just sort of trying to force it to happen just because it was what it was. And I'm like, if you're going to do that, just play the original show. I mean, the new stuff just wasn't at all good.
Well, it depends, because when they did the second and third iteration of Ben 10, and actually grew him and went up. And
yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
Okay, when you said new, it's like they were saying new.
No, I'm talking about this new garbage where it has like no story, and it's basically a bunch of fart jokes, and the character design. I mean, actually some of the character designs that are kind of cute, but I don't care for them for an action show, which is what it should be.
Well, to me, it's when you have something like Ben 10, and the fact that they're now trying to do that 11-minute formula that a lot of the cartoons are doing nowadays, you really can't do like cohesive stories, and then
No.
well, you can. I'm sorry.
Well, no, but they have to be certain kinds of stories, though. Like Steven Universe works really well in like a little 11-minute chunks, you know.
And I guess that's, I mean, they work it so it can fit like that, because I've actually watched some of the videos and stuff, but it just doesn't feel as fun as it used to, because they made the characters for their target audience, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And it's not as fun as what it used to be, when it was just more of an all ages action hero type show, and now it's just kind of a goofy, let's see how much stuff we can throw into this time period. I mean, they're not doing nearly as much fun adventures as they did before with the older show and the original show, and they don't do the space travel. They have the characters, they have the original changes that they used to do, that he would do, the aliens with the watch, and they have some different characters, but it's just not as fun because they don't have time to tell a complete story anymore.
Yeah, and I think they clearly know that, so they've sort of switched formats. And I mean, they're probably doing what they can with the show, but at the end of it, I'm just kind of sitting there going like, the original property was better, because it was sort of like, I mean, this is really a loose way of describing it, but it was sort of like a classic American action show mixed with like I don't want to say Pokemon exactly, but like that Japanese idea of you throw in a wild concept, and I thought it worked really well because it was, you know, something that everybody knew what it was in two completely different ways, and it was really fun. And now I'm kind of looking at some of the new shows, and I'm not wanting to insult anybody that watches them. Everyone has a right to like what they like, but some of the new stuff, it's like, I think they're just trying to figure out what to kind of, like they're trying to be new. Like they're trying to be like, we've got a whole new something, and then some of it works and some of it just is really blah. You know, it's like, oh, it's all about 11-minute cartoons now. Let's forget about story. And then you go, well, no, there's 11-minute cartoons out there that had a great deal of story in it. You're knocking the story out because you're lazy. I'm like, you could totally do a cliffhanger. You know, I mean, and Steven Universe does that quite a bit, where suddenly it sort of cuts off at a good spot, and the next episode starts like 2 seconds later. And it's like, it's actually kind of cool. It's right back in that old serial sort of thing. And I'm kind of actually shocked at myself at how good Popeye actually kind of looks. I mean, I need to make him look better, but I'm actually kind of like, shoot, I maybe need to draw Popeye more.
Yeah. I love your characters and stuff. You do your illustrative characters, but every once in a while you gotta get your chops a little different flavor, you know. Do something like out of your usual stuff. And I'm just like, hey, I wonder how Popeye would look in his stuff.
Well, it's what I like about jumping out of my pool for a little while. I mean, I'm still going to be using my techniques and stuff and how I construct things. And I think that's probably maybe a good test of somebody's skills, is if they can still draw the way they draw, but, you know, still be able to sort of shift styles, you know. So somebody can still see Popeye, even though I'm not used to drawing stuff like Popeye. They still go, oh no, that's clearly Popeye. It's something that we do at work all the time, where it's just like we shift licenses so quickly. And so, I mean, I'll work on John Wayne and Frozen in the same week, you know. Just
or draw a giant illustrative like American Eagle Wolf, and then work on Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh no, yeah. I'll do like 3 straight months of patriotic Eagles, and then go right to like the Addams Family, you know, or whatever, you know, and you know, and it's actually kind of cool. At the beginning, I was a little irritated by it because you couldn't get into a particular groove, but then after a while, I was like, actually, this is kind of forcing me to just be completely like Play-Doh, you know.
I love drawing different cartoons and stuff when I get a chance to, when I feel up to it. It's just it's fun to kind of like cleanse the palate every once in a while. And just see what,
Yeah.
and just challenge yourself to see if you can actually go with the flow of another, basically of another style in a sense.
I'm kind of thinking to myself that maybe this might be the final shtick that we figure out for Sunday morning sketch, is just sort of working on a different character every week. And I mean, I kind of wanted to do developmental stuff for the projects we're working on, but then the watchers will, people tune in for kind of a particular thing, and either I can imagine somebody would want to see cartooning or developmental artwork, and not them just randomly mixed together. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not.
Well, I think a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, because I mean, I've seen a lot of the people that I follow, design-wise and stuff, they actually do the flip side of that, where they'll do a lot of developmental, like Aaron Blade, for example, will do a lot of developmental and sketch stuff, and then like occasionally he'll just, oh, well, let me work on Stitch, just to have a little fun here. So I think just
Yeah.
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Well, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm just, we've been trying to figure out how to, properly put this all together, and a lot of the, and I kind of agree with what a lot of the marketing people are kind of talking about, where they're like, you need to kind of stay in sort of a groove so you're not throwing people off. And on one hand, I agree with that, and on the other hand, I'm like, well, is that always true? But I mean, I see what they're saying.
To me, it would be the groove of you doing the sketch every Sunday.
Yeah, but I can also see, like, I mean, for example, people tuned into Bob Ross every night because they knew they were going to get a landscape. Now, they didn't know what the landscape was going to be, but they knew he wasn't going to just randomly suddenly paint a car. And I think there would be different watchers for that, like the little old ladies in that would be like, oh, it's those are, look at those beautiful trees, and all the sunset, and then he'd do a Corvette, and they'd be like, what? Well, I'm not into cars, and just sort of change the channel,
Well, see, to me, I would be looking at that more, or this is my own personal thing, would be like, in that case, if he's going to do landscape, what is he going to do? Forest? Is he going to do mountains? Is he going to do stormy sea? Is he going to do? That's kind
Well,
of
yeah,
fun.
but that's what I'm saying is there's a fundamental difference, between a landscape and a Corvette. Like there's a fundamental difference between doing classic cartoon characters and then switching over into like a Serptillion, like I did last time. I mean, I can see some people being really into one and really being the other, and I can see some people being into both. But I don't know. I guess I don't. I'm more of an artist than I am anything else, so I'm just trying to figure out how to, I'll figure it out. Yeah, it's actually kind of fun. I didn't think I would enjoy drawing him as much as I am. He's you can clearly see some very deep-seated emotional issues going on in this face. There is clearly something wrong with Popeye the Sailor Man. And I mean, possibly in the most entertaining way possible. These are the cold, dead eyes of a killer. There's no wonder this dude was getting into fights. It's like I was looking up images of Popeye this morning, and there's some of the images popped up when the people did like the really realistic, gnarled kind of versions of them. I'm going like, I want to see like a redo of the original kind of Popeye cartoon stuff with all the weirdness that was in them. But the other part of me was going like, I'm kind of digging this like super gritty, wrinkly, he looks like he's 65 and covered in salt. He's just, I'm kind of going like, that's kind of cool too, actually. Like, he's just not going to put up with anyone's crap, you know? Like, yeah, I was like, might I do that first? I'm like, maybe later. Let me try the cartoon version first. But I'm like, this dude's a tough dude. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I kind of want to see a sea epic, kind of. I mean, still funny, but with like a quest story where he just goes out and, maybe his spinach runs out, He has like a moment where he's like trying to find himself again. What do I do if I can't just mercilessly beat the crap out of people with my fists? I needs my spinach,
Well, no, Popeye is an allegory upon about the addictions of the world.
I wasn't loved enough as a kid.
Happy. Of course he wasn't. That's why he went off and began to sing.
Now, I'm trying to remember. It's been such a while since I watched any Popeye. Was there any kind of like hidden like alcoholism in the show? Like they were kind of hidden? Because it just seems like they've got the most dysfunctional, kind of angry, brawling characters out. Like everybody in it was just ready to swing.
No, that's not that I can remember.
So it's yeah, okay.
I'm trying to even remember up to the original deal, the Fleischman stuff.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying, because some of the Fleischman stuff had like some politically incorrect stuff in there. I was wondering if maybe there was like some like, like he had based it off of like a violent old sailor that he knew, and the guy was like a,
Possibly. Oh, there was political stuff in there. I mean, un-PC stuff and stuff in there. Un-PC stuff in there, of course. I mean, heck,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't know about that. But I mean, heck, Bluto was a rapist. Come on.
Oh, he clearly was. Bluto was a terrible person. I mean, just talk about, like, they should have stuck him in jail in the first cartoon. And, the rest of the cartoons was him breaking out to go try to get olive oil again. And, Popeye just beat the living tar out of him. It's like, I'm going to send you back to jail, you rapist. I mean, just what a terrible character Bluto was.
No means no.
So awesome. It's funny. I was into like Popeye and stuff when I was younger, but it was some of the other cartoons that I liked better. But I got to admit, Popeye had a huge amount of character. He was just a really profoundly funny character. I think part of the problem was that some of the cartoons were so old that the copies weren't very good. Even back in like the early 80s, you could kind of tell like, man, that they need to go clean that up or something, And
Well, I agree. I agree with you on that. He's one of those ones where you loved him, but you didn't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch Looney Tunes, and you know why you watch Looney Tunes. Everyone has their favorite Looney Tunes character and all. You watch Disney, you have your favorite Disney.
Yeah.
But you watch Popeye, and just like, I like Popeye. Either you don't like Popeye or you do like Popeye. There's no, he was okay. It's like, okay, well, why do you like him? He was a fun character. Or anything else? I really don't know. I just like his character.
I think part of it is that whacked voice that like nobody except for like 3 people on the planet can do, and like there's no other character with that voice.
Billy West was he was the actual current he was going to be the current Popeye.
Oh, I've heard him do Popeye. He's really good.
Oh yeah, he's the one. He could do that. The double intonation.
Yeah.
Actually, he can make his vocal cords rumble with that. With the undertones basically.
But yeah, no, it's I'm kind of wanting to see some of these classic characters brought back, but I don't want to see them come back like like they're doing with like Tom and Jerry. All the modern Tom and Jerry stuff sucks. None of it's good. Well, none that I've seen. Maybe there's one out there that they did it right, but like when they went back and like, well, like all the Scooby Doo stuff, just outside of the original series, sucks, except for Mystery Incorporated, which actually was better than the original show. I know there's a lot of classic guys going to be mad at me for saying that, but it was really good.
Some of the made-for-TV movies were actually really good.
I take that back. A couple of those were good, yeah.
I watched a few of them because on.
I remember Zombie Island being really funny.
Zombie Island was good. The WWF one or WWE one was fantastic.
Really?
All weird cheesiness. I mean, you have Scooby and Shaggy body surfing on an unconscious John Cena.
Really?
It was amazing.
That sounds funny. Yeah.
I honestly, when this part happened, they went in slow motion.
Really?
They're all like they're getting washed out of this underground cave as this giant ghost bear is chasing them, and the water just washing through, and there's Freddy, Velma, and Daphne. They're like, "Where are the boys? Where are they?" And then they all turn, and in slow motion, John Cena, unconscious, pops out of the water like Sea-Doo style, with Shaggy holding him his arms like a wave rider, and Scooby-Doo hanging on his waist. And they just go in slow motion with his boots and just like, whoa.
Okay, that is funny. I didn't see all of it, but I appreciated the one with Kiss, because it's like they were just stoned the whole time. It was just the biggest, weirdest, like rock, like acid rock concert kind of, like it was just so messed up. What, Kiss was actually like, I think they were like aliens or something with superpowers. And I was just, the whole time I was just going, and the whole time, I think I watched 20 minutes of it the whole time, but the whole time I watched, I was like, this is really messed up. So I was kind of like, okay, take it back on some of the Scooby stuff. Some of it might not be that good, but at least it's got moments where you're like, they're doing what? With Tom and Jerry, it's just bad.
The Scooby-Doo was also the Master of the Blue Coffin. The Comic-Con, that one was really good too. Because, that one was, they actually brought in Adam West and all that for that one, but that one was really good.
Yeah, that's what it's like. I'm not against them bringing the old stuff back. I want them to bring the old stuff back and let it still feel like the old stuff, but still feel free to breathe some new life into it. And I know that's a really tough balance, which is probably where it gets screwed up. But I just end up looking at a lot of the new stuff going like, the spirit isn't here. Yeah. It's either that or they change the spirit completely, like Teen Titans Go, and they could have really done that show with anybody. It didn't have to actually be the Teen Titans. It could have literally been any characters. And I mean, it's funny just because it's a funny show, but it's not really Teen Titans. I don't care what anyone says. I've seen Teen Titans. That's not Teen Titans.
Well, no, but honestly, for me, I enjoy Teen Titans Go more than the other one because as big as a following the original show had, and I appreciate like the people who watch it, cool, and I watched a few episodes and thought it was all right, but it just didn't hook me. And
I had a problem with that one.
I got tired of all the pseudo like constant anime wild takes just for the sheer heck of it.
And I want to say this right now. The anime wild takes that they were doing, most of the ones that I saw weren't anime wild takes. They were just like over-caffeinated, over-sugared, badly timed. A lot of the stuff that they did was not an anime. It was actually a lot closer to American stuff, just mixed with like the Japanese hyper cuteness. Yeah, I had such a hard, and a lot of people, it seemed like everybody was in love with that version of Teen Titans, and I was just sitting back going like, this just isn't really all that good. I was trying so hard, but I was like, it wasn't funny, and then they're like, but the story, I'm like, the story was pretty mediocre, and...
From what I understand, as it went through and towards the end of the series, it got really good.
Did it? Okay, because I only saw bits of it.
Yeah, same. I watched probably the first half of the first season, and it just didn't get to me. And from what I understand, it actually got really good.
Okay.
Like, that's cool, but like me, honestly, I'm enjoying the heck out of Teen Titans Go.
No, I kind of had my heart set against it because I was pissed off that Young Justice was taken out. And so I was kind of like, they replaced Young Justice with this? So I was a little ticked off, but I've seen some episodes where I actually was laughing pretty good at it. So, no, it's a funny show. I'm just simply saying it's not exactly Teen Titans. It could have been just about anything. They could have thrown any license almost into those scripts, as long as it involved a group of teens that stuck together having, wild, ridiculous times. I mean, you could have redone that with the cast of Bill and Ted. I mean,
They're trying to do.
oh, yeah, and and I can see them coming back and doing more Bill and Ted stuff. But
I mean, we're getting more Young Justice, so hey.
oh, and that at the time we didn't know that we didn't foresee more Young Justice being made, and I'm so glad because they kind of dropped us off on a mild cliffhanger, which was frustrating, especially because the rest of it was so entertaining. And I don't care what other fanboys, opinions of that are. I was having a good time with that show.
Like I said, with that coming back and with them, which last night was the conclusion of Samurai Jack, and then bringing that back this season, hopefully at some point we'll have some
Symbionic Titan? Yeah, no, we need to finish up Samurai Jack, but I was real happy with that one. I was like, and that's exactly, clearly it was made by the same dude, so, it stayed on message. But that's what I'm saying is it was Samurai Jack. But then they breathed some new life into it, and I was like, yeah, right on. This is where I want to be. I want the weirdness from the original show, but mix it in with some, I like it when stories end, to be honest.
Not just that, I like it when stories actually grow.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be stuck in the same time loop forever and over, it's like with Young Justice, we had the 5-year time skip.
That was cool.
Yeah,
that was fun.
People were angry with that, and it's like,
They're weak.
It's not the fact that they're weak, it's just
they're
that
weak.
when one of your core audiences who are watching it, suddenly the people that they see is older than them. They can't relate to the characters. Those people, there's some problems with that.
But I want to disagree with that, because when I was a little kid, I watched all these shows with older characters in it and loved it.
Right, that was when you were younger. Now this is a completely different generation.
Yeah, but it's the same species. I don't think that it was a quirk for decades that kids were watching shows and cartoons with characters older than them. And then all of a sudden, now kids like cartoons because the kids are the same age and all the boys make fart jokes. I'm all for a good fart joke here, guys, but come on now.
I think that has a bit to do with it. I mean, I'm in the same boat with you. The cartoons that were made when we were growing up were for the older, were done from the perspective of an older audience.
It was so good.
The stories we told, all that, and then the stuff that was done from a more kid or young adult perspective still had some adult supervision, I guess, in some point.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm fine with that. Yeah.
But it's like nowadays, we're now those people who are telling those stories, and so now that those people have come into power and are telling the stories, it's like it's almost like it's reverting in a sense. Or I shouldn't even say reverting. It's like it's the same, because now I guess it is reverting, because they're now telling the stories of basically their youth.
But that's what I'm saying. It's weird because that's the these are the guys that are also doing the really good shows where they're not kind of doing this dumb, only an 8-year-old will like a story with an 8-year-old, and it's like, only a girl can watch a show with a girl in it, because boys don't want to watch shows because they're not girls. You get this where it's like, no, you're being stupid. People like good stories and they like good characters, and only stupid people, which I think is kind of the minority. They're like, well, I'm a white boy. This cartoon has to have a white boy in it for me to like it. I can't, that's dumb. I mean, Avatar: The Last Airbender proved that wrong, and Legend of Korra proved that wrong.
Well, and they did with that, and those people had, because those people had their stories, their properties. They were allowed to do what they wanted to do. When you have the corporate schlocks coming in, trying to force demographics down people's throats, then you get stuff that's rehashed and made for its target demographics, and it's just boring as all, well, boring to us because it's not for us and all that.
No, but here's the thing. I think I would have been bored with some of these shows when I was a kid. Some of them I think that I would have liked more than what I would have liked now. I get it. Kids have different tastes than adults, but some of it I'm watching going like, I'm not so sure I would have gotten into this. I mean, some of it's like...
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because we see the stuff now that's out there, and it's like, oh, well, I don't like this, and chances are you probably wouldn't have liked it. I mean, honestly, for me, growing up, I wouldn't have watched Ben 10 because it just didn't look all that good to me as a kid.
Now, if I had the original Ben 10 from, 8, 9, 10 years ago, if I had that as a kid, I would have gotten into that completely. It's the same reason why I got into it when it came on TV. I was like, this is fun, and it did. It had a kid in it, but then they did this great thing where they brought Grandpa into it, so they didn't just bring Dad in, they brought Grandpa in. Then they made Grandpa an awesome action character, and they didn't do it in a ridiculous way. They were like, no, he's an old dude, but he's an old dude that's seen some stuff. And when they did that in the show, I was like, I love Grandpa. I forgot his name, but I love that Grandpa character. And the kids were great because they were going out with Grandpa having like alien sci-fi adventures. I mean, that's just cool.
And to be fair, once again, with your own personal things, you are not an ordinary kid. Because you grew up to be a cartoonist and an artist, you were seeing things that a lot of non-artistic kids can't see or don't see. I mean, it's like I was describing cartoons to like my family members and stuff of how the way I saw it. They're just like, oh, I never saw it that way. It's like, well, that's because that's what we do. That was part of us, and that was ingrained in us as early artists. And so a lot of the kids that aren't cartoonists or artists or however it may be, they're just watching it for the sheer we're going to watch it because it's a cartoon thing and we like it, kind of a sense. And not breaking it down like we did as miniature artists at that time period.
Yeah, I just don't, I mean, and I don't trust a lot of humans. I mean, I'm honest about that, but I still don't think that they're all stupid. They're not the way a lot of the entertainment, and I mean, I know there's a lot of dumb people out there, but the fact that, and I don't want to insult anybody who watches certain things, but there's certain entertainments out there that I look at it and I go like, really? Like reality TV, I'm like, this is what you guys are wasting your life on? And then they go, well, you're watching She-Ra or whatever. I'm like, yeah. And She-Ra's genius by comparison to reality TV. That should give people an indication. And I admit She-Ra's like a dumb show. I mean, it's a fun show, but it's not like brilliant.
Well, I look at it this way, for cartoon-wise. You had something like Ben 10, and then you had something like Johnny Test. I would have rather watched Ben 10 than Johnny Test.
Same here.
And like I said, as a kid, probably I may have watched Ben 10, but I don't think I probably would have watched it on a extreme basis like I would have done maybe like Young Justice or something. I mean, because I think back to when I was a kid and the stuff that I absolutely loved and that I would watch on a religious basis. I mean, stuff like Ninja Turtles and Rescue Rangers and all
Ghostbusters. Oh, yeah.
It's like, I would have watched Ben 10, but I wouldn't have been like scrambling down the stairs on an early Saturday morning to catch it.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, that's for sure.
And the later iterations I probably would have because I was doing it as an adult when they got to the second and third.
Yeah, where they were later teens?
Yeah, the second one is when when they expounded, second season when they expounded a bit more on the original stuff. Third season, I think, is when they grew up. They made them it was the 6 year time skip because they were 16.
Yeah, I love that when they do that stuff. That's if they did that with they got to a certain point in Steven Universe and did that, I think that would be really cool.
In a sense, they kind of did because Steven actually had a birthday. So.
Well, yeah, but the birthday was like within a week of the last episode. I mean, they didn't do a 5-year skip.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The fact that they're showing him actually growing and getting older, that's when I'm just like, okay, I can appreciate that even for that. 'Cause I mean, a lot of cartoons that we grew up with, didn't even do that. It was just the, hey, it's a birthday episode, and you have no idea what amount of time has passed, and the characters never seem to grow or age or anything, not even in...
No, I'm agreeing with you. At least in that, they're clearly growing older. They're not doing that lame Simpsons thing where they're 9 or whatever for 30 years.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that's different from a time skip.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the same category, but it's different.
Absolutely.
Especially with characters, because they've stated that some of these characters are thousands of years old. So I'm like, we could do that. On the same note, I kind of, it's sort of the day-to-day kind of, fighting the aliens and being a boy story. So
It's a slice of life story.
yeah, so which is why a time jump would make sense, but it's not necessary. It's just that I like it when they, you get to see characters later, as compared to some series where it's like. I'm sorry, one of the reasons why I don't like The Simpsons anymore is I thought the show would be better if they started aging the characters, and now we would have a nearing middle-aged Bart Simpson with, Homer as the grandpa. And I think that would be really much more interesting than, gee, we're doing this joke again. Gee, we're doing this joke again. Gee, seriously? You did this joke 20 years ago.
From some of the newer Simpsons stuff that I managed to catch, it's actually still pretty funny.
Is it?
Yeah, they still have a pretty good team of, well, they keep refreshing their writers, and so they have a pretty decent team of writers, and they're pretty good with the comedy and pretty good with a lot of the current pop culture jokes and stuff, so they're still keeping up on it. And I mean, I think they answer the whole getting older thing by doing the occasional feature episode, like the one we saw with, like, as they got older, with Lisa getting married to
I remember that one. But that's my point, though, is I remember seeing that one, and I remember, as being much younger, immediately going like, are we going to go this direction? Are you going to, because I wanted that. I was like, I wanted to see where Maggie ended up, and, that you could develop these characters, and it could be amazing, but instead, it's this, and I hate saying stupid, but to me it is stupid. It's a stupid mentality of, let's just keep doing the same thing over and over again, because that's a safe way to sell soap.
Well,
And you're like,
when it comes to The Simpsons, I think the reason I don't think it's fair for that, because where they are, the different characters represent the different social aspects of things being seen through that person's eyes and all. And so I think once you you change the show's entire mood if characters suddenly start growing and getting older and all, and start shifting, and it becomes a different show in a sense. I mean, they kind of proved that when they actually killed off characters or characters died and stuff. It actually did feel a bit different. I mean, the lady who played Mrs. Krabappel, when she passed away, the voice actress passed away, and they actually felt it throughout the show. They made the characters actually mourn. And
oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'm not cool that she died, but cool that they did something about it.
It's like the show did change a little bit, but then they went, the show must go on and all. And so it's like, to me, it's just like, I can understand what they do, because you're keeping that's Simpsons is basically like a time capsule.
No, and I get that, but it's just like, I guess I just get bored with seeing the exact same thing over and over, which is why I can't watch professional sports, and why The Simpsons. It's just like, after a while, it was like, this again? I didn't care how funny it was. It was like, but you're doing this literally again. It's like, well, we're going to watch a blank game. But it's the same thing as last time. The numbers are just a little different. You're like, who cares? And I know people don't agree with me on that, but it's just like, I guess I just get bored too easily.
I don't know. I think to me it's just not your thing anymore. I mean, you just probably grew out of it.
That's what I'm saying. I grew out of it because it was getting boring. It was like, it's like, I don't know, hanging out with your friends once a week and having the exact same conversation for 20 years. It would drive me out of my gourd. I would be like, I'd get to the point where I'd bring sock puppets and just perform the conversation we've been having for 20 years.
Well, with
I'd be like,
there was that time when they actually were, and I think that's the time when we stopped watching it, because they were falling into that pit, basically. And ratings were going down, things were getting boring, and I think it was like the writer's strike was starting to happen, so it wasn't nearly as fun as what it was because they were getting like third and fourth tier people who didn't know comedic timing and all that. And so it actually did flounder and did kind of like went down. And from what I understand, at one point it actually was on the brink of cancellation. But I mean, that's Fox's like cash cow. And so there's so much merchandise from that because of The Simpsons. And so they kept it going, and now it's gotten better again.
I mean, that's fine. I think to me, like Futurama was a really good evolution of The Simpsons, and this clearly it had come back clearly, but at the time they were like, okay, no, we're going to keep The Simpsons going because that's what everyone feels safe with, and let's cancel Futurama. And I was like, at the time I was like, but Futurama is like 1,000 times funnier, you know. Oh God, that was frustrating.
Well, one or two generations grew up with. I'll say one generation grew up with The Simpsons, about 2 to 3 generations. I should say 1 or 2 generations grew up with Futurama, about 3 or 4 generations grew up with Simpsons. And so, once again, it's the legacy thing I was talking about.
I get it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what you get on top of it. Like it's just one of those things where it's like. Simpsons, I can give a pass on because I can understand what they're doing. Family Guy, I don't like because to me it's just not funny anymore.
Well, it used to be amazingly hilarious.
Yeah, like Family Guy, I don't watch anymore because that, to me, that is doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, they kind of just, yeah, I think it turned out pretty good.
That's actually really good.
All right. Well, I think that's probably pretty good for now. Oh, yeah, let's get a look at that there. Yeah, not bad. Definitely looks like you don't have much in the way of teeth. I think I need to adjust that Adam's apple a little bit, but all right, well, whatever. All right, well, thank you for joining me for another Sunday morning sketch. Be back next week. Not sure what I'm going to draw, but I'll get it figured out.